Independent Islamic Republic.
Still in the region, Oman's legislative body, the Shura Council, on Monday discussed amending its boycott law against Israel. According to Omani officials, the council convened to discuss expanding the scope of the law, which would prohibit any kind of contact with Israeli entities in its entirety.
Israel's wet dream of more Arab and Muslim countries joining the Abraham Accords receives a big blow. The Omani Parliament has called for the boycott of Israel. This has come as a big surprise to the Zionist entity because they hoped that Oman would be easing restrictions, joining the Abraham Accords and lifting the ban on Israeli flights over its territory. If you remember, not so long ago, Saudi Arabia, the land of Tawheed, allowed Israel to use its airspace. But the refusal of Oman, which is on the same Asian route, shows Oman is not a country that would easily fall for the Israeli power trip in West Asia. It was only a couple of years ago, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu visited Oman, where he met Oman's ruler Qaboos bin Said Al Said in Muscat. We all thought Oman was ready to normalize ties with Israel. However, it's not happening, folks, not for a long while. Let me tell you what happened. The lower house of the Omani Parliament, known as the Majlis al-Shura, voted to expand the law on the boycott of Israel, adding to the existing restrictions a ban on any contact in the sports, cultural and economic spheres. The ban even extends to online communication with Israelis and will significantly expand criminal liability for interaction with Israel. This is all surprising given until recently, when unfortunately some Sunni majority countries like the UAE, Bahrain, Sudan and Morocco joined Egypt and Jordan to establish diplomatic relations with Israel. It was expected that Oman would be the next country to join the Abraham Accords, but it's not happening. Oman has clearly shown us it doesn't follow the Sunni nor Shia-led countries. A lot of the times, it likes to stay neutral. It has been neutral throughout the Iran-Iraq war, for example, and unlike most Arab states, apart from a select few like Algeria, Oman maintained diplomatic relations with Syria after the country suffered orchestrated events back in 2011. Oman didn't even join the Saudi-led boycott of Qatar, and now it's great to see it's not joining the Abraham Accords. Oman doesn't condemn countries that join the Abraham Accords like Iran does, for example. Oman just doesn't want to follow Arab Muslim countries normalizing with Israel and crawling into the lizard's hole. Omani foreign policy is quite interesting. Oman has close contacts with Iran. They've even held joint military maneuvers, and I think they do these things to keep Saudi Arabia's great power ambitions in check. Oman didn't even join the Saudi-led military campaign against Iranian-backed Shia Houthi rebels of the Ansar Allah movement in Yemen, despite the entire Muslim world being quiet and keeping mum over the war in Yemen, and some even going to the extent of producing fake news about Houthis. Oman clearly made their stance clear. They weren't anti-Houthi, neither pro, and their move in Yemen was a great thing because this also meant the Houthi resistant factions could also use Oman to mediate, and the Omanis did a great job out there. The latest ceasefire in Yemen was also achieved because of Oman. My friends, this is what Islam is about, not getting involved in wars and trying to take the middle ground and find solutions. Oman's boycott move against Israel is justified. Israel constantly wants conflict so it can take advantage of nations. That's how Israel rose to power, by using superpowers. Today, it's in a difficult position because it can't afford to upset Russia nor America. In contrast, Oman played a very clever move over Ukraine, which was voiced by the country's foreign minister Badr bin Hamid al-Basaidi when in an interview with the French newspaper Le Figaro in May, when asked whether the Russians made a mistake by invading Kiev, he replied, "We don't say that, otherwise we would be stuck in accusations that will not allow us to move towards ending this war." How are Omanis this clever? Well, it all boils down to their ideas of Islam. Most Omanis, including the ruling elite and the Sultan, adhere to something called Ibadism, which is separate from both Shiaism and Sunniism, and it's an offshoot of the direction of Islam that arose earlier than all others during the so-called First Fitna troubles in the Islamic Caliphate. Since that time, Ibadism has established itself in Oman. Throughout history, the Ibadites have learned to build relationships with their opponents, be it the Umayyads or the Abbasids, Ottomans or Safavids. Thanks to this, as well as the policy of maneuvering between these centres, Oman not only for centuries retained its independence, but also its identity as well. They're smart people that have learnt from history, unlike certain states like Saudi Arabia, Bahrain and Morocco following the ruling elite, who want to integrate Israel and get everyone to normalize an abnormal entity. And then there's Pakistan, who wants to be more Saudi than the Saudis themselves. I say this because Bin Salman is now promoting moderate Islam more so than Wahhabism of the Najd region. He wants to modernize his country, and the Pakistanis are confused. Which side do they go? Do they go towards the Saudis or the Turks? Because then we have the Turks, don't we? And we have Pakistani brothers and sisters who bow to Erdogan as their caliph. Maybe because Erdogan has light skin, I don't know. But this must stop. Pakistan needs to find its own identity in all this, like the Omanis have. You can't be Saudi, neither Turkish. Be proud to be a Southie Asian. Today, Oman is going towards the right direction. Like Algeria, like Syria, like Iraq, Israel should be isolated in the region and should never be considered a part of West Asia. The Omanis have their own ideas about Israel. They don't need to follow the Saudi, neither the Turkish narrative. They know what's going on.